Question 6 sees you working through the first of the questions that we look at involving critical paths. Now, the first thing to note is where your start and where your finish is. I'm going to use a process called forward scanning, which means I'll put the earliest possible starting time for each of the activities in the top part of this timekeeping box. I'll also be making use of the lower half. The lower half of the box becomes the latest finishing time of the previous activity. Now, please notice if we come to a junction, we must choose the smaller of the two options. You'll find that it's pretty easy to put the earliest starting time, and we do that in a process called forward scanning. Now, the whole thing starts at 0. The earliest start time for any of B, E, or C has to be 6 because activity A has to be finished. Now, I'll just go down the bottom for a moment. 6 and 4 gives me 10, 15. Now, I'm looking for the longest possible times involved here. So if I have a look down the bottom, that would give me 25. Keep that in my mind. If I worked up through here, that would be 21 as the earliest start time. But I suspect this top junction may cause a time delay. So 14, let's just check 12. No, obviously 14 and 3 gives me 17. So that 12 is not the option. 21 and 21 and 17 gives me 21 and 7, sorry, gives me, should be 22, sorry, gives me 29. So you can see, I hope, pretty quickly that this top arc is my critical path. So these are the activities that combine together to give me my critical path and my project completion time. So the earliest project completion is 29. I haven't got units, but it could be 29 days or weeks. And if I had to list it, my path is A to B to D to G to I. And that's my critical path. Now, by default, the latest finishing time for the activities along the critical path is the same as the earliest finishing time. It's kind of cheating a little bit, but I'm now going to just fill in those as a part of backward scanning. So the latest finishing time for activity I is 29 days or weeks or whatever. 22, 17, 14, 6 and 0. So the earliest start time and the latest finishing time for the activity will be the same along those channels. Now the next step, we have got to fill in the latest finishing times for this lower branch, which is not on the critical path. These are activities that could be delayed. So what I do here, I go 29, take 10, which is 19. But hang on, there's a 22, take 6 option, which I will go for 16. So in other words, there's a delay time, perhaps of 1 day or 1 unit here. I then get hold of that 16, take from the activity time, and that will give me 11 as the latest finishing time. So it means I've got some slack or float time in this lower branch. Now this takes a fair bit of thought and a fair bit of reasoning to work out as you go. I'll just draw these in pen so they stand out a little bit more. So the critical path, the longest time. You can see the branch here. Next step, I fill in the other things. 29, 22, 17, 14, 6 and 0. The choice at the junction, I must go the smaller of those options, which is 22 take 6, which is 16. There's only one choice for the latest finishing time of activity C, which is 16 take 5, 11. Take some time to work through it and make sure that you're able to summarise the finishing. I'll just do that neater. So the critical path, and the earliest project completion time, Well, that's equal to 29 units.